Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful and honestly mind-bending theories of history ever written. It comes from Leo Tolstoy's absolute masterpiece, War and Peace. And we're going to explore it by looking at one of the most dramatic moments in the entire novel, Napoleon's fateful invasion of Russia.
Okay, so picture this. The year is 1812. Millions of people across Western Europe are suddenly on the move. And as Tolstoy puts it, they're about to commit an endless string of horrible acts against each other, thefts, deceptions, murders, so many that you couldn't even record them all in centuries. And the wildest part, the people doing these things didn't even think they were committing crimes. The stage was set for an absolute catastrophe.
And right at the start, you get this incredible, almost cinematic contrast. On one side, you have Napoleon Bonaparte, standing on the banks of the river Niemen, surrounded by his gigantic army, giving the order to invade. At that exact same moment, hundreds of miles away, the Russian Emperor Alexander is the guest of honor at this spectacular ball, totally oblivious that war has just begun.
So you've got these two colossal figures, right? It seems like they hold the fate of millions in their hands. But this is where Tolstoy steps in and wants us to ask a much, much deeper question. Were they really in control at all? Or were they just puppets, being moved by a force so much bigger than them?
Historians have always offered up plenty of neat, tidy reasons for the war. But for Tolstoy, those explanations were completely, almost laughably, inadequate. He just keeps asking, what really caused this to happen?
The textbook reasons usually point to things like, some insult to a German duke, or Napoleon's personal ambition, maybe a few diplomatic mistakes, or the English stirring up trouble. But Tolstoy just looks at this list and thinks it's absurd. Is it really possible that millions of men would march across a continent to kill each other, all because a duke was insulted? For him, the answer was a loud, definite no.
So instead of those simple reasons, Tolstoy offers this radical alternative. He believed that huge historical events aren't caused by the will of one or two powerful people. Nope. He says they're the result of an almost infinite number of tiny, little causes, all happening at the same time to create an outcome that was basically inevitable. And he explains this with a simple, absolutely brilliant analogy.
So Tolstoy asks this simple question: why does a ripe apple fall from a tree? Just think about it for a second. Can you really point to one single cause? Is it because gravity is pulling it down? Well, yeah. Is it because the sun has dried out the stem? Also yes. What about the wind shaking the branch? Or maybe a kid standing underneath is hungry and wishes it would fall? Tolstoy's point is that all of these things are true. No single one of them is the cause. The apple falls simply because all the conditions for it to fall have finally, perfectly lined up.
And here's the crucial takeaway. For Tolstoy, the invasion of 1812 was just like that falling apple. It didn't happen because Napoleon willed it. It happened because a billion different causes, everything from some French corporal's desire to re-enlist all the way to the mood of merchants back in Paris, all of it coincided to produce an event that just had to happen.
This idea has a name. It's called historical fatalism. It's this belief that history isn't a story of free choices made by great leaders. Instead, those leaders are just, as Tolstoy says, the tags which label the event. Napoleon didn't cause the war. He was just the label for this massive inevitable movement of people from west to east.
And this just perfectly shows how Tolstoy saw all of us, really. He believed every single person lives two lives at the same time. There's our personal life, right, where we feel free, we make choices, we have our own goals. But then there's also what he calls our beehive life, where we act like unconscious tools fulfilling some larger, predetermined historical purpose that we can't even begin to understand.
Okay, so that's the big, grand theory. Now, let's see how Tolstoy brings this massive idea down to a human level, through the story of one man, Adjutant General Balashev. He's a messenger sent by Emperor Alexander with one last, desperate offer for peace.
Balashev's journey is just this frustrating, maddening exercise in powerlessness. At dawn, he gets stopped by some low-level cavalry. In the morning, he's intercepted by the super-theatrical King of Naples, Murat, who puts on a whole show for him. Then he gets passed to Marshal Davout, Napoleon's cruel right-hand man, who just makes him wait in a barn. For 4 days, he's nothing more than a pawn, being moved around a board he has zero control over. He's the perfect symbol of an individual caught in the massive gears of history.
Finally, after all that, Balashev is brought before Napoleon himself. Now, this scene right here is the ultimate illustration of Tolstoy's entire theory. We are about to see Napoleon not as a master of destiny, but as a man who is completely, totally in its grip.
Napoleon starts the conversation off all calm and reasonable. He claims he wants peace, says he's ready to negotiate. He's putting on this performance of a rational leader, open to discussion. But that composure is about as fragile as it gets.
Balashëv delivers Alexander's one condition. For any talks to begin, the French army must first pull back out of Russian territory. It's a simple, straightforward demand, and it's the exact trigger that sets the whole inevitable historical machine into motion.
And at this moment, Tolstoy zooms in on this tiny, absolutely brilliant detail. Napoleon's face twitches, and the calf of his left leg starts to shake all on its own. Now that is not the reaction of some god of war making a calculated choice. It's the physical, uncontrollable spasm of a man who is a slave to his own passions, and because of that, a slave to history.
And the calm mask just shatters. Napoleon doesn't see this as a diplomatic proposal. To him, it's a deep, personal insult. His pride, just another one of those billion causes, takes over. He declares that he wouldn't accept these terms even if he were offered the two greatest cities in all of Russia.
And then the rage just comes pouring out. But listen carefully, he isn't deciding to invade, he's describing what will happen, almost like he's just a spectator watching his own destiny unfold. He lays out all the destruction he's going to cause as if he's being compelled by a force far greater than his own will. He is simply the voice of the inevitable.
Tolstoy gives this psychological state a precise, perfect name: incontinence of irritation. It's such a key insight. Napoleon isn't shouting to convince Balashëv or to make some strategic threat. He's talking because he has to. He needs to keep talking to reassure himself that he's the one who's right. He's trapped in a compulsion, a perfect example of his beehive life totally overriding his personal one.
But the story doesn't end there. That very same evening, something happens that's even more unsettling. Something that reveals just how deep Napoleon's fatalistic role goes. So at dinner, Napoleon is perfectly cheerful. He's friendly, he's charming, he treats Balashëv like an old pal. That furious outburst from the morning, it's like it never even happened. And Tolstoy explained that this wasn't an act. Napoleon felt zero self-rebuke because in his mind, it was impossible for him to be wrong. He had simply done what had to be done. And then, over coffee, he starts casually asking Balashëv about Moscow. How many people live there? How many houses are there? How many churches does Holy Moscow have? Now, coming from anyone else, these might just be curious questions. But from Napoleon at this specific moment, they carry a truly terrifying weight. And this leaves us with the final, haunting question that's at the very heart of Tolstoy's theory. When we hear Napoleon's words, are we listening to a great man planning his next move? Or are we just hearing the inevitable future, spoken aloud by the man whose only real role was to be its label?